You added one more item to your cart. You did not need it. But the shipping was free if you spent $5 more, and somehow that felt like the smarter choice. You just got tricked by a number that does not exist. This is the free shipping threshold, and it might be the most quietly effective pricing trick in modern retail. In 2007, a strange thing happened at a French clothing retailer. Researchers Anne-Sophie Cases and Eric Fernandez later examined catalog and online order data and found something that should not make sense if you believe people shop rationally. When the company introduced a minimum order threshold for free shipping, average basket sizes increased substantially across customers who were below the threshold. People were not buying more because they suddenly needed more things. They were buying more to make a $5 shipping fee disappear, even when the extra items cost $10 or $15 to obtain that disappearance. You did the math wrong, and your brain did it on purpose. This is not a coincidence built by one company. It is one of the most well-documented patterns in retail psychology, and it has a name: shipping fee aversion. Researchers have found that consumers feel disproportionately frustrated by shipping costs compared to an equivalent increase in the price of the product itself. A $10 increase in an item's price barely registers. A $10 shipping fee feels like an insult. Why would your brain treat two identical $10 charges so differently? The answer lives inside something economists call mental accounting, a concept popularized by Richard Thaler, the same researcher behind the endowment effect, and a Nobel laureate in economics. Thaler showed that people do not treat money as one single pool of value. Instead, your brain creates separate mental categories. There is the category for the product, where you expect to pay, and where price increases feel like normal commerce. And there is the category for shipping, which your brain files under a completely different heading. A fee for doing nothing, a tax on convenience, a charge that feels unearned. When the product price goes up, your brain says, "Fine, that is the cost of the thing." When the shipping price appears, your brain says, "Why am I being charged extra just to receive what I already paid for?" That distinction is not really about money, it is about meaning. And retailers figured this out decades before most consumers noticed. Consider Amazon. When Amazon launched Free Shipping Club in 2002, internal data reportedly showed measurable boosts in order frequency and order size almost immediately. The company eventually evolved this into Amazon Prime, a subscription model built explicitly around eliminating the psychological friction of shipping costs at the moment of purchase. Customers were not just paying for faster delivery, they were paying once in advance, so that the moment of "should I really buy this" would never trigger that shipping fee irritation again. Remove the friction once, permanently, and purchase frequency climbs without customers consciously noticing why. This is the same mechanism, just stretched out over a year instead of triggered at checkout. Now think about the threshold model. Free shipping on orders over $50. This number is rarely random. Retailers calculate it based on your average cart value, then set the threshold just slightly above what a typical customer would normally spend. If your average order is $40, a $50 threshold is not designed to be unreachable. It is designed to feel just within reach. Once you see that gap, $10, the shipping fee aversion kicks in immediately. Your brain does not calculate, "Should I spend $10 extra on a product I do not need?" Your brain calculates, "How do I avoid losing money to a fee?" These are not the same question, but your brain answers them with the same action: add another item to the cart. This works because of a deeper psychological pattern called loss aversion, first formally described by psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in their prospect theory research published in 1979. Kahneman, who later won the Nobel Prize for this work, demonstrated that losses feel roughly twice as painful as equivalent gains feel good. A shipping fee is coded by your brain as a loss, an unnecessary subtraction from a transaction that should have ended already. Buying one more item to eliminate that fee is coded as avoiding a loss, not as spending money. even though mathematically you are spending more money either way. You think you are saving $5. You are actually spending $10 to $15 to avoid feeling like you lost 5. Retailers do not just rely on this passively. Many actively display your progress toward the threshold in real time. You are $12 away from free shipping. This is not a customer service feature. It is a deliberately engineered countdown, similar in psychological structure to a progress bar in a video game. Progress bars trigger something called the goal gradient effect, a behavioral pattern where motivation to complete a task increases the closer you get to the finish line. The closer you are to free shipping, the more your brain treats hitting that number as a mini-goal worth completing, regardless of whether the items you add actually serve any purpose. You are not shopping anymore. You are finishing a level. And once you understand the mechanism, you start to see it everywhere. It was always hiding. The "you might also like" recommendations that appear right as you approach the threshold are not accidental either. Retailers know exactly where you are in your cart relative to the free shipping cutoff, and many platforms specifically surface low-cost, high-margin items at that moment. The impulse buy candy rack of online shopping, perfectly timed to coincide with your shipping fee anxiety. It gets stranger still. Some retailers have run controlled experiments removing the free shipping threshold entirely in favor of charging a small flat shipping fee on every order, then comparing customer satisfaction and total revenue. In several documented cases, removing the threshold reduced average order size, even though customers technically had more flexibility in how much they wanted to spend. The threshold itself was not a limitation, it was a target. And targets motivate behavior that the absence of a target does not. This single mechanism, the $50 threshold, the visible progress counter, the friction of an unavoidable seeming fee, generates billions of dollars in additional spending every year across global e-commerce. Not through deception in the legal sense, nothing here is hidden in fine print, but through a precise understanding of how your brain values money differently, depending on which mental category that money falls into. So what do you actually do with this? The fix is not to feel guilty about wanting free shipping. That instinct is human, and your brain is responding exactly as it evolved to respond to a perceived unnecessary loss. The fix is to separate the two decisions that retailers have deliberately fused into one. Before you ever see a shipping threshold, decide what you actually came to buy and what that is worth to you. Write it down if you have to, even mentally. Then, when the free shipping at $50 prompt appears and you are sitting at $40, ask yourself a different question than the one the retailer wants you to ask. Do not ask, "What can I add to reach 50?" Ask, "Would I have chosen to spend $50 on these exact items if there were no shipping fee conversation happening at all?" If the answer is no, the $10 you would spend chasing free shipping is not a discount. It is the exact cost the retailer calculated you would pay to avoid an emotional discomfort that they engineered in the first place. You added one more item to your cart. You did not need it. But now you know the $5 fee was never really the threat. The $5 fee was the bait, and the item you almost bought to escape it was always the actual price.